Well, welcome everyone. Today we're going to be doing the next phase of our WordPress website setup. We've already installed WordPress on our domain that we registered with Springs Hosting, and we've already set up hosting on our new website. Now it's time to start customizing that website. And to do that, the first thing we're going to do, go to Google. We're going to put in the website we just registered. I'm going to show you on Creative Profits Academy. You're going to put WP-admin. Okay, so you see the domain. So once you log in, your site is brand new. This is what it looks like. Okay, so we have our posts like we did in this last session that we created our content in, and then we use the pages in order to post the blogs and the content of those blogs on our pages and display them in our menus. So we did that in our last session. Now we're going to be installing the plugins for our website. Now I want to show you a list that I have on my site. Below this video I have popular plugins for WordPress, blog sites, and how they work. So these are the plugins that you're going to want to put on your site, and I give you a brief description of them, and I'm going to show you how to install them in just a minute. But I want to point out a couple of them here. Number 5 down here, I have Gutenberg Blocks. This is the block editor that allows you to put the content in block form. And it makes your website pages look really nice. In the content, how it lays out looks great with block form. Now, something you should know, in one of my videos where I talk about AI images and blogs and putting them into your website, and I'm featuring Green Living Off Grid. Green Living Off Grid uses a different editor. It doesn't use the Gutenberg editor, it uses the classic editor. So you can see here, I have an example of Classic Editor. This is an older editor. I built that site in that older editor. And the advantage of the Classic Editor is it lets you be able to get to the blog post code behind the actual blog post. So this is what the Classic Editor kind of looks like. I have my code for my YouTube videos right here, and then all the rest of the article, the links that I have going over to Amazon products, all of that. All of this in the Read More link, all of that is part of the Classic Editor. And Read More link is a lot harder to get to in the block editor. A lot of times with the block editor, it just formats wherever it wants the break to be for the Read More, which is really only a display that you use with some of the plugins. When they list the blogs out, they'll just list an introduction to that blog. And the block editor tends to just decide wherever it wants to put those breaks. It's a little harder to find the actual feature of adding a break where you want it. So Classic Editor gives me more control, and that's one of the reasons I really like it on this site. Not necessary for you to use it. You can use the block editor just as well, and we're going to do that for the majority of our videos. Most of my sites are now in the block editor, but the advantage of the code, especially when you're looking for an Amazon tracking link that needs to change, which was what I was doing. I had to get into the actual code. Being able to just tab back and forth and do that is really a feature only available in the older Classic Editor. Other features in the editor, all of the categories are right here on the right hand side. They're just really easy to select. Now I want to show you something. On this particular site, Creative Profits Academy, you'll notice I have Classic Editor deactivated. It's still on my site in the plugins, but it's not active. So the reason why is I have the other editor, which this is another version of Gutenberg. The Gutenverse is also a block editor, and it doesn't really matter. If you have a block editor, you have to have a Classic Editor deactivated. If you want to get to the code, you can deactivate your block editor, and then you can go and activate the Classic Editor. So that's just a little trick that I use when I need to get to code. Some of those block editors are so complicated that you look at the code, you can't figure it out, or it's not even really giving you access to that code. Sometimes they use too many shortcodes or whatever, and you can't really edit it anyway if you design too much in block editors. So I kind of play around with the block editors and like this one's a little more compatible to the classic editor switch over, and I just activate whichever one I want if I need to get to the code. So I wanted to point that out. The reason that I only list the Gutenberg block editor is that's the most common editor that's used today, and it's the easiest for bringing in your videos because you can use the shortcode and all of the little plugins. Actually, you don't even need a shortcode. You can use the Presto Player plugin, and I show you how to do that in that another part of this video. It's really easy. You click the little plus button and it lets you add the video in. So anyway, I just want to point that out. A few other things you're going to have to do a little more configuration on would be the compliance. That's where we're going to end up going to the GA4 analytics video where I show you how to set up the GA4 base tag for your website, and that goes into a page on this compliance plugin. This is the one that will handle all your consent, cookie banners, anything to keep you legal and compliant. So it's very important. If you install in compliance, it'll also give you warnings when you have, let's say you add another plugin and there needs to be more permissions granted or notifications put into your disclaimers. Whatever the case is, it's going to walk you through step by step with their tutorial exactly what you need to do to make sure you're compliant. So this one is a little more complicated. I'm not going to go into a lot of details on it, but I will touch base on sections of the compliance. Most of it, the tutorial is user friendly. It'll just walk you through all the steps, but you'll get to one section where it's going to ask you for your GA4 tag. You're going to need to go through that GA4 analytics training video to learn how to do that and how to add that tag in. So you might add this to your site, but don't try to set it up until you go through GA4 and then finish setting up your compliance requirements. Disable comments is really easy. I'm going to show you, most of these be pretty easy to set up. Auto Amazon links, go ahead and install it, but you're not going to be able to add your actual ID code for Amazon until you are officially approved on the Amazon platform, whether you have the Basic Associates, which I use my Basic Associates ID in all of my blog sites and my YouTube videos. If you want to go to the influencer, that's the on-site earnings section. You technically don't need to have that tag, and you don't have to have that qualification to be able to start earning affiliate income through your blog site. You could just stay with the basic level just for that portion. So anyway, you see some of these different plugins. The only other one I'm going to point out here as far as what you might need to do besides the basic plan. Most of these have upgraded pro plans. You don't have to pay for them. Really simple SSL. You can use the basic plan without paying for it, except in the case where you have a store where people are checking out products and actually putting their payment information, then I would highly recommend that you get the upgraded pro plan so you get the higher security for your website with really simple SSL. Okay, WP Forms and WP Mail SMTP is another configuration process. You'll have to go through the tutorials and kind of figure that out. And if you get stuck, you can always use YouTube to search how to install these and how to integrate them. Authentication with the email server, this WP Mail SMTP, you may need to get Springs Hosting's help with that, because there's a specific configuration that needs to be done for your website to be able to email you the people that fill out your form contact information. So I would recommend a help ticket with Springs Hosting to get their help, just to get all that authentication with the server done. Once you get to this part, go ahead and install the forms, and then when you get to actual authentication with the SMTP, have their help with that, because I don't know what server your particular website's going to be on. So it's just best to have them check over your work and really figure that part out with you on that. Okay, so the rest of these I talk a lot about on site. I do want to show you one more thing at the top. The first two plugins here, both of these use shortcodes. What are shortcodes? Well, let me show you how to install a plugin and get a shortcode. Okay, so we're going to go let's go into my new site where I don't have very many plugins. I've already enabled the disabled comments option, which takes the place of ASMET anti-spam. Both of these are on the site, but the anti-spam wants you to pay for a service in order to keep people from spamming your comment section of your blog posts. I just disable all comments, and I use this plugin to disable the comment ability, and that keeps the spam off, and I don't have to pay for the service. And I really don't need comments on my posts because I have comments on all my social media content, whether it's Facebook, whether it's in the Facebook groups, or whether it's on the YouTube channel, and I really can't handle checking comments on my blog every day. That would be too much. So I actually like it disabled, and so that's why I like to use this plugin, disable all comments on my site. Now this here is my connection with my email list, and I use two email platforms. One is ConvertKit, and that allows for 1,000 subscribers as well as automations. You can set up a series of email automations to go out for free with their basic plan up to 1,000 subscribers. Now you get above 1,000, you'll have to start paying for that. But as you're building, ConvertKit is a great way to go. Now my tutorials are based on MailChimp. MailChimp has 1,000 subscriber plan as well, where they let you have a free plan up to 1,000. However, MailChimp charges for all of its automations in any new account. I have an old account. I'm still able to run my automations as long as I'm below 1,000 subscribers. And so I have some metrics on there that I use to show you how I optimize my email list and monitor my progress. And so on one of my sites, I'm using the plugin with MailChimp, and on this site, I'm using my plugin with ConvertKit. So just so you know, that's why there's a little difference there. I do not list this in my list of plugins on my site, because when you get to adding your email list, you're going to need to figure out which plugin is going to work best and which email service you want to go with. One benefit of MailChimp over ConvertKit is it's a much older platform. So sites like, or platforms like Go High Level are already set up to integrate with MailChimp, whereas ConvertKit, you have to use a tool like a Zapier, or perhaps you just have a landing page that you push people to in order to integrate with it. And really, it's not that big a deal when you're just doing an opt-in form with a funnel. You can still work with ConvertKit just fine. There just may be a few more steps if you try to set it up to work directly with Go High Level. You'll have to do some AI integrations in Google, some YouTube videos on how to set that up. MailChimp automatically connects, but ConvertKit, being a newer platform and probably why it's cheaper to run on, it's going to require a few more steps and a few more plugins, perhaps, if you want to integrate that much with Go High Level. Okay, limit login attempts. I talk about that on the rest of this video. I'll be covering way more plugins. It just keeps people from hacking your site. And here, the Presto player I've already installed. That's the one that lets you put in your videos on your site. And it's really neat how Presto Player works. Literally in your plugin, when you're using the Gutenberg editor or any editors like that, this is how they usually come up. You can click anywhere in here, like you'll see a little box come up, and you could just click that to add another block. Let's say I want to add another video, and you click the Presto Player option right there, and you can easily add in your YouTube video or anything else. Make things header titles or smaller regular titles. I mean, that's what the Gutenberg editor allows you to do, is just format your content so it looks really nice. Up here you can plug in to add additional blocks. Very easy to use. You do have to kind of search a bit. I think categories are down here, and there you can get to them. Tags are down here. I have to add some tags if I want to add some. It's not that bad, but I do notice I just have way more. Well, there's set feature image. I can put an image on this article. So it's really not that hard. This particular block editor, it's not Gutenberg, but it's one very similar. When I searched for Gutenberg, I found this one. It's really pretty easy. If you're in the blog section, you won't see it. Click on post, and then you have all these different things. You could set a featured image so that when you send your article out to social media, somebody grabs the URL of your article and you post it to social media, that featured image, if it's large enough, with some of the plugin tools, like the social media plugin tools I show you. That will help grab the image to post with your social media. All right, now I was going to show you how to go about adding a plugin to the site. So we're going to go down here on the left hand side. You see plugins, and we can search for install plugins, or we can click add new plugins. I also want to show you too, on the plugins page at the very top, you can always go to add new plugins up here. Most plugins are free. There are a few where in order to use some of the services you want, you have to pay for. But most of them are free, and when you install them, they'll often ask you to review them. That's what the case is with the ConvertKit. They want me to review. And the other notices will come up here. Particularly compliance is going to send you notices up here, and you can click on whatever links to add to it. Like this one saying we should add contact form 7. I'm not going to do that because contact form 7 is not being supported, and that's why I use WP forms now in place of contact form 7 on my site. So this particular site, I haven't installed it yet, but I'm just showing you, where you're going to go to start adding these things. Now, the two first plugins here on this list, Breadcrumbs and the PostGrid, both of them utilize shortcodes. So let's go ahead and look up Breadcrumbs and install it. So all you have to do is go over here to the section where it says search plugins, and you're going to put a keyword in. In this case, I know what it's called. I'm going to put breadcrumbs in, and I'm going to search that. We'll go ahead and enter that. Well, there's breadcrumb nav text. I can install that now. And there's a breadcrumb, just a regular breadcrumb plugin. I can install that. Now, most of my sites are using this one, so I'm not going to install this one, though this one looks to be a good one. Look at how many active installations. And I'm not exactly sure how this one is formatted. A lot of my sites I like this one. You see how I have the little arrows? I like how this one is laid out. So this is the one I'm going to install on this site. Okay, now when I install it, I just click activate, and then you can see it comes up with it right here activated on my site. But if I go to any page on my site, I'm not going to see any navigation looking like breadcrumbs. Why? Because the first thing you want to do is you want to click view details once you get a plugin, just to check and see if it tells you how to install it. Looking under the description, I see down here plugin features. Use a shortcode. You can display breadcrumb anywhere using shortcodes. Now, this is what I did with one of my sites. This is what it looks like, and this is how you set up a shortcode. Do you see those little brackets around it? So you just put brackets around it and type breadcrumb. That's how easy shortcodes are. If they tell you in the plugin description that all you have to do is type breadcrumb, then you go into your page or wherever you want it, put brackets around it, and type breadcrumb. Okay, that's how easy that one is to install anywhere on the site. Okay, now let's look at the other one I want to show you. Okay, the PostGrid. If you go in here, we have to go to documentation to see how to set this one up. They give you some instructions here. The Pro version is the one that you have to pay for in order to get it to lay out in certain ways. And so there is a PostGrid free version, and there's a Pro version that you can pay for to make your posts show up fancy. Let me show you what it looks like when it's in the free version. Recent posts. And I have it just selecting out in a grid format the top 3 posts in that. So to be able to do that, I had to put this shortcode in, the post grid, and put this ID and title. Now, where did I get this syntax? You go back to the plugin. I had to go over here to the left-hand side, post grid, and on the post grid, there's all grids. And there's my short code for all grids. I wanted all of the posts in that one under recent posts. There's WP Forms Lite. Okay, let's look at view details. That's a good place to start. And not really telling me anything. Okay, let's look at settings. Okay, when you're using the WP Forms Lite and you don't have a license key, they're only going to give you one form. So you're using one form for all the contacts off your site. Very simple. And so all you're going to do, that's just formatting it. CAPTCHA, this is where you're going to want to install a CAPTCHA version for protection on your site. And since it's giving you a place to put your site key, I Googled this, guys. I'm not going to go into all of the details on how to set up CAPTCHA, but basically I set up CAPTCHA version 3. I got the site keys, the secret keys. I probably shouldn't be showing you guys all that. I'm going to block it out on the video so you don't see it all. But there's different ways, and read the walkthrough and just kind of hunt and peck. You can kind of learn how to do this. There's no right way, wrong way. Maybe some of these other options are better for protecting your contact form, because CAPTCHA spammers still get through on it. I've had to do some fancy things like add combo boxes and additional things they have to fill out just to keep the spam down on my site. So it helps, but it doesn't catch everything. Okay, so that's how those plugins work. I do recommend add auto Amazon links. That's going to integrate with your Amazon Associates ID when we get that. Go ahead and add the plugin, because at some point we're going to add that integration so you can bring in Amazon products directly into your site. I would recommend adding this one, Better WordPress Google XML Sitemaps. This burst statistics will add itself automatically with some of the other plugins we'll add later. So just focus on these ones here that I'm highlighting. Compliance, we will add that later, so you don't have to add that right now, but we're going to add that next when we do GA4 integration. We'll add that one last because that's all going to tie into compliance. That's going to give us the cookie banners that are required now on websites. And a privacy policy, all those legal forms are required. This compliance will give you that. I know with Pinterest, you're going to need some header footer code. Code snippets will allow you to add those header footer codes. There's also a plugin called Header Footer, so you can also find that. Either one will work just fine for those kinds of requests when you need it. Disable comments, very handy plugin. Keep people from spamming your site. You're going to want to install that. Download Manager, we're going to use that to deliver our PDF, embed our PDF into the site, and be able to make it downloadable. Google Site Verification is something we'll probably add later. Just want you to make a note of that. But I would wait and add that when you're ready to do site verification with Google. Imagify is something I talk a lot about in my blog posts on creating AI images for your blog. Imagify also goes with WP Rocket. It's a caching software. WP Rocket right here is a paid caching software. It helps with things like when you have a WooCommerce site with lots of images. It comes with Imagify under the licensing, but I think Imagify also has an additional license. So you might want to upgrade at some point to WP Rocket. It's one of the best plugins for optimizing your site to get it to run faster. I have a paid plan with WP Rocket. I do not have a paid plan with Imagify, and that may be the next thing I'll need to do because I have some images that are loading rather slow, some of my pages. So this just allows you to get your site running faster. However, when you're just getting started, you might want to go with the free W3 Total Cache software. It works pretty good. And so until you have a really large site, you could probably get by with just W3 Total Cache, caching your pages. So I would say start with this, and if you need to upgrade to WP Rocket later and Imagify, you can always do that later. Other plugins you're going to want to install: Presto Player. It allows you to bring in your videos from YouTube, get a short code that you can install that on your pages. But Presto Player optimizes your YouTube videos so that they don't slow down the loading of your WordPress pages. You're going to need WP Forms in order to create a contact form for people to enter their email to contact you. And WP Forms will also go with WP Mail SMTP. Right here, you're going to need to walk through some integrations with both of these in order to set up your contact forms. But WP Forms is very easy to use, and they do have a free version that will give you your basic contact form. SSO social and search engine optimization. You're going to need this to give you better ranking with search engines and to send your site out to the search engines so they can find the different sections of the site as you're building it. So this is very good. This also will tell you when you have images that are too small to load properly on Google search. So then you can upgrade to a better image or just ignore it. I sometimes ignore it, but it is helpful to make your site look good on Google to go ahead and follow its recommendations of SSO, social, and search optimization. It also allows you to post your blog article to Facebook, and it'll pull an image in if it hits the qualifications of what SSO requires. It'll automatically pull that image onto your blog post. So it's kind of cool how it's made to be able to search your blog right over to Facebook and carry those images to make it look nice. Code snippets is something you don't have to add that right now, but if you need to add some kind of integration later with a header and footer code, code snippets can let you add code to your web page. And also header footer code is another one that I use. It's called header footer code. I don't think it's on this site, but that's another one if you need to have that. Better WP sitemaps. This plugin is a must, again, for getting your site to rank better on Google. This one will actually send out your sitemap directly to Google for indexing. Pixel your site is something with Facebook tracking. Google Analytics, there's a Google Analytics GA4 for WordPress. We'll install that when we need that. Limit login attempts. You're going to definitely want to make sure you have that, because people like to do brute force attacks on your site. That's what bots will often do and try to hack your site. And limit login attempts will prevent that from happening.